Hi, it's Kelcy from Junkjournal Magic. Today is a little gold mining. I filmed me making all of this stuff, and then the system said, you don't have enough memory to deal with all this stuff. Create some storage on your phone. And so I had to delete my video. I'm not happy. It was like an hour and 20 minutes long. So I'm going to show you what I mined today. This we'll call the gold. A lot of this stuff came from yesterday. I already put the Vintage Children's Encyclopedia, which was, I think, Volume A, and the other one was a dictionary. I put that away, but I found some things like, let me move this aside. I found some things like this polar bear illustration. Isn't that awesome? I thought I could use that in my North to Alaska junk journal. Here is an illustration from Arrow to the Sun. I believe that's what it's called. Oh, I don't have that stuff here because I pulled that out yesterday. Oh, it's over here. Let me show you. Arrow to the Sun. And this was about the sun god for the Hopi, I believe it was the Hopi, who found a Hopi woman, a Navajo, and had a baby. And that boy was told who his father was, and he kept wanting to go see this person, this son. Anyway, so he finds someone who's going to shoot him to the sun like an arrow, and they shoot him to the sun, and there's a huge rainbow behind him. And that's really interesting to me, with colors of the rainbow and visible light and things we think about our vision, reality, and maybe dimensions and the soul. So yeah, I wanted a piece of that so I would remember this story in my moon journal, companion journal. And I still need to stitch around here just to make it look better. It looks pretty sad, that little word floating there. But yeah, like that. I also found, while flipping through the dictionary, this liner definition for an ocean liner. Since I'm going to be on a cruise ship, I need that for my, what was that? For my North to Alaska junk journal. And a lot of this stuff I'm making, I'm just going to save and glue in while I'm journaling each day on the cruise. Here's another piece from Arrow to the Sun. It's just a mesa, a pueblo. I thought it would be really cool just to have this to put in my American Southwest Desert journal. I added a little bit of washi with the moon and stars, but this is about the sun, so you see a lot of orange tones associated with sunlight. Really like that. Here's the salmon I found in that dictionary. I'm like, well, heck, I'm not going to need a lot of things to add to my North to Alaska journal. I can just make some fun ephemera. I'll probably get an indigenous tribal salmon sticker and make a page. When I finally see salmon, eat salmon, or somehow am connected to salmon that day. I also made this particular entry in the dictionary has been floating around here for a while, so I finally put it on a card. And this can easily go in my moon journals, companion journal, because there's a lot of Egyptian stuff in there. And if not, it's sparkly. And if I don't use it, I can give it to someone else who has a moon journal. I made a compass for attaching somewhere in my North to Alaska book. You know, there's all sorts of places, the cover and everything. I put it on cardstock. It was an illustration in that dictionary or encyclopedia, so this is fun. I also found a seal illustration, and we could see lots of seals. So luckily I still had the definition. And this, I just love the watercolors. Whenever I find anything in these vintage books and it's watercolor, I'm just like, ooh, ah, and I want to save them all. So that's why I have all of my, I'll call them glue books when they're just full of vintage illustrations, because one day I may want to try to paint this. But this is a piece of a large envelope I just cut down. I sewed that on. My thread is stuck. I sewed that on the top. I had glued a few pieces down these strips of paper. And that's just a layering technique I use. And if you're interested in that, you can watch the other gold mining videos I have in a playlist called Gold Mining. So that's a nice little place to journal. I can glue it down completely, make a pocket. I can glue it on two sides and make a tuck. Either way, this will open and I can have journaling there. And then I took the piece that was left over and I turned it into a little bitty flip sort of thing. Could even sew some paper in and make a little notebook, but this is just an oasis definition. And because I have a desert journal and a Texas journal, this will come in real handy. I also found this entry for this guy, Agassiz. He's Swedish. He was born, Switzerland. He's Swiss. He was born in Switzerland. And he got interested in rivers of ice that he called glaciers back in the mountains of Switzerland. And it says he built a hut on one of the glaciers and studied the moving ice. He told what he had learned about glaciers in a book he wrote. Also, he was the first scientist to have the idea that there was once a great ice age. And I thought this was really cool since I'm going to go see glaciers. I'll put that in my North to Alaska journal. Here is an excerpt on an ice and an iceberg and just an illustration of an iceberg. And there's even icicle down here. But I made this little cluster. It's very long. And then I added it to a piece of paper just for a little flippy kind of place. I could either glue it down as a belly band, as a tuck, as a pocket, or whatever, and I could still open it and write. So there. I could even just tuck it into a pocket. I also took some paper I had. It came from a coloring book about the U.S. state parks. I bought the coloring book at Ross. You have to go in and pay attention. You may think, ooh, that sounds boring, but open the book. You never know what's inside the coloring book. But these are the back sides of pages. There's also a page like this. Oh, and I made one yesterday. It's a page like this. So I thought the mountains, the animals might work. I'm not sure yet. And this is like a map. I thought that was fun. And see, these people got out here and wandered around. And I hope they found their way back. But yeah, it's just blank vintage paper inside. And I can either use it as a pocket that opens, as a belly band that opens. I can use it as a card that tucks in somewhere. I can tuck it in behind that card. You know, it's just fun because we'll see a lot of maps, and that's what I associate with Alaska, is getting out in the wilderness. Now, this was a page in the A encyclopedia, and Alaska was one of the states in it. There were many other things than a few states, but I kept the little information bit about Alaska, and I like the map. I love the symbols. I'm like nuts about all sorts of maps and the symbols. I'm strange. So, oh look, there's even a totem pole. Yeah, this is really cool. And the state flower for Alaska is forget-me-not. But I glued some paper in, and I wasn't thinking, check and make sure this area down here was at the top. I need to put a little glue here. But it'll be fine. I mean, I'll survive. I mean, not that fussy. It's just for my personal use. So, I'll make do. I'll make do. There. Then lastly, I also made a cluster, I'll call it that, with this image from an American Southwest book. Yeah, I want to say it was How to Start Your Day or A Day, and there was a lot of Native American stuff in there. There were other things like Egyptian stuff that I'm not using for that, but I will be putting into a piece of ephemera. But this makes a nice focal point, and I could even fold this black part down and make it stiff. The problem with this is that I used this black paper like here. I painted it with acrylic paint, and it does not want to stick to anything with Fabri-Tac. So I'll probably be sewing this onto something like a piece of paper here and have a really cool thing like that. Or maybe this would be better. Could glue it on here or sew it on, and then there'd be a nice chart in here, a nice table someone could use for keeping up with information. Might do that. But yep, that's what I made. Maybe that'll give you some ideas.